Brushes within Photoshop. Alright, so what we need to do is you just make a new document in 8.5 by 11 by 72. Okay, I'm making this really low res. That way I can kind of show you real quickly how these brushes function within Photoshop. So you can get the brushes by going up here. Okay, they got a list of brushes. You can go over here to brush preset. That's another way to get brushes. Or you can hold Control and Alt and right click and you can get the brushes that way. Now there's two types of brushes. There's the normal everyday Photoshop brush and there's dynamic brushes. Anytime I go to capture dynamic brushes using my screen capture device, it dies. So I won't be able to show you these dynamic brushes. However, there's not much of a trick to them at all. The fact is these have more to worry about than the dynamic brushes. The dynamic brushes just function. So you can pretty much figure those out yourself once I show you the attributes on these other normal brushes. So also along for the ride is brush. You can get the brush by going to brush. So everything in here allows this to be varianced. So right now I got a single stroke, and you can see that if I press lightly on my drawing tablet, I get a big little dot, and then harder makes a bigger dot. So that's my variance. So a drawing tablet is very important to purchase with Photoshop. I can't even stress that enough. I know they're like $199, but it is worth it. Intos 4 small variety is amazing. Okay. So in here, I have everything that can be switched on as far as pen pressure. So I can get, like, let's say size jitter. If I have this off, I just get this straight of the middle line. But with it on, with pen pressure, I get that variance. Scattering just allows me to do that. So now I get a blob type approach to things. And this is very nice for concepting things. So sometimes if I'm creating a weird character, I'll use the blob feature just because it feels like it becomes more arty that way. Okay. Now, as far as everything goes, every one of these things is driven by either pen pressure or no pen pressure. Okay. Now, the thing is, more things that go onto pen pressure slow the system down. So you should maybe stay away from too many things on pen pressure at once. This is a very nice feature. This allows you to switch your brushes out and create all kinds of angles with them. So know that this is a feature that I use all the time. If I use 50 here, I can make this happen. So now I can get a variance. But this variance is locked into position based upon the radial right here. It does not move dynamically like these dynamic brushes do. In the dynamic form, this moves constantly based upon the angle at which you're drawing with the drawing tablet. So you can get a really nice stroke going on. If I have a color, let's say I have two colors out here. Let's say a red and a darker red. I can use things to my advantage like color dynamics, and I can say foreground and background jitter as far as that goes, pen pressure, and it'll do that. Good for making backgrounds. Okay, so you should experiment a little bit upon the brush and how to do this. Now, this opacity is very important up at the top. Okay, right now I have 50% opacity, but now I changed it over to 100. Okay. Now, when I'm sketching, I usually use a 50% opacity. When I get done, I use maybe about an 80% opacity to start coloring in it or flattening out the work. Flow is just like an airbrush. So what will happen is the outside edges will be softer with flow. It also slows the production of the brush. So right now, you know, this is coming out pretty well, but if I take up flow, it'll start pumping it out, and I get these darker tones. Alright, so now let's move on to another topic where, because this is one type of brush, this is my sketch type of brush that's in Photoshop. But let's look at this stamp type of brush, and let's also look at making brushes within Photoshop.